So ever since the first year of my university, I had a dream to build an electric skateboard. I know, doesn't seem like a very lofty goal, but back in the day, I didn't really have the skills that I have now, so it resulted in parts that look like this, and like that. Ever since then, though, I've worked on projects like hovercraft and boat, so I think I have quite a bit more skills than I used to, and I wanted to give it another shot. So I started out by spending too much money on motors, an ESC plus receiver combo, and new skateboard trucks. So once everything got here, I eagerly unboxed it all. The remote seemed to be pretty good, pretty high quality. I liked all the lights. And then taking out the ESC, it also seemed to be built pretty well. The motors also seemed to be pretty substantial, but the problem arrived when I unboxed and opened the trucks up. Now, I didn't really do that much research going into this on what trucks I would need. I just grabbed ones that I liked, and yeah, it turns out that you actually need special trucks for these type of hub motors. But after ordering some that were actually designed for hub motors off of AliExpress, and waiting, of course, a month for them to arrive, I was finally back in business. So after watching this video from further fabrication, I decided that I was actually also going to make my electric skateboard use tool batteries. I did this because I figured that even if I didn't ride it in the future, I would have some extra DeWalt batteries hanging around. So I printed out a bunch of iterations of the mounts to try to perfect it as much as possible, and I finally made one that I was happy with. The next step was to go pick up the longboard that I've had for about 10 years from my parents' place. All the hardware was a little rusty, so I used some penetrating blaster just to clean that up. So then I measured it out and made my best CAD approximation of the exact shape and size. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good for the purpose. Once I got back home, the skateboard trucks had arrived, and I was able to start actually doing some work on it. So I took off the old trucks and started installing the new ones. So once I got that done, I installed the new 70mm front wheels onto the front truck, and started to install the 83mm hub motors onto the rear. Then I printed out a 2-battery version of those DeWalt battery holders that I iterated on before. And for mounting everything on the bottom of the board, I decided to use a modular mounting system, and I would hope that this would allow me to switch up all the accessories on the bottom of the board without drilling a bunch of new holes. So this bottom plate incorporates a bunch of M5 nuts for easy mounting and changing out of accessories. Once this was mounted on the bottom of the board, I changed gears and started to do the wiring. So I was going to use 2 DeWalt batteries wired in series so that I would have 40 volts to the controller. And here's where I learned the hard way to check the polarity before plugging stuff in. Yeah. So after I did that twice, I was actually pretty confused because I thought that I had it wired properly, and I thought that the speed controller just was shorting internally, causing a huge amount of current to come through or something like that. I wasn't sure what I was thinking, but I definitely thought that I'd fried it. Luckily, once I checked, I just realized that I had the battery connected backwards, and it actually didn't end up ruining anything, so that's at least good news. Which at that point, I felt comfortable enough to tape everything to the bottom and go give it a test. I apologize for the vertical filming. My girlfriend filmed it, and I guess she didn't think I'd put it in the video, but here you go.
Power level 3 out of one of those 4 power. Okay. God, I hope it doesn't just disconnect like that out of the over. Full throttle. Whoa, it just did.
Oh, it just. Okay, ready?
Let's go to an blur.
Go.
So yeah, as you can probably tell at that point, I was not very comfortable riding it, but I still decided I was going to finish it off with a case for the electronics. So once that was all done, plus a little bit of wiring and a new battery cradle, I was ready to go do some more serious testing. So I wanted to see mostly what the watt hour per mile of the skateboard was. So I grabbed the board, threw on some small 1.3 amp hour batteries and this really sexy helmet, and set off on my voyage. And I completely forgot to record along the way. Oh well. So, I have officially made it to what I would call the ending point of my journey linearly. So now what I'm going to do is just start riding back and forth here until I completely kill it, because there is technically still a little bit of go left in the board, but it feels pretty slow now. So these are the 1.3 amp hour batteries. It's doing tremendous, like way better than I thought it was going to, so I'm really happy about that. So yeah, let's get doing it. We're definitely running quite low on battery. I'm at power level 2 and it's flashing now on the one bar. So 1.3. Oh, there's the moment right there. I suppose we are completely flat. Batteries have just cut off, so we are donezo. The board is kicked. Well, let's go back home and take a look at what kind of watt hour per mile we got. Are you ready for some really complicated math? Okay, so I went 5.1 kilometers on the 1.3 amp hour batteries, which gives us a watt hour per kilometer of 10.2. And then using this, if I bought 5 amp hour batteries, I would have about 20 kilometers of range. But if I bought 6 amp hour batteries, I would have 23.5 kilometers of range. So that gives me a bit of a cushion. So, as you probably guessed, I spent too much money on 6 amp hour batteries. And I was immediately concerned that they were way too big. Anyways, that's enough for this video. In the next one, we're going to be integrating these batteries on the bottom of the board. I'm going to be adding a automatic headlight that uses an Arduino, and we're going to do some riding. Go give it a test. So I'll see you guys then.